Om. 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 ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये ॐ श्रीकृष्णपरमात्मने नमः अथ तृतीयोऽध्यायः कर्मयोगः So yesterday Dr. Mara had read 19th shloka. I will just repeat the 19th shloka. तस्मादसक्तसततं कार्यं कर्म समाचर असक्तो ह्याचरन् कर्म परमाप्नोति पूरुषः Therefore, always perform action which should be done without attachment. For by performing action without attachment, man attains the supreme. I will just read few of the paragraphs which were covered. I hope I'm correct. Please let me know. It was 19 shloka which was completed yesterday. I will quickly browse through the previous. This is the 19th shloka and quickly read through the what is in it for me attitude. In this verse, Krishna also reminded Arjuna that karma, that is not yoga, binds the person. Performing action without attachment refers to the attitude one should have towards the results of one's actions. Karma phala. A vulture flying in the sky looks as though it is just gliding along, enjoying the flight. But in fact, its eyes and beak are always directed downwards so as not to miss some dead rat or other prey to swoop down upon. No matter how high it soars, a vulture's eyes are always on the prey. Thus, the expression vulturous. People are said to have a vulturous attitude when they think that anything they do should bring them something. Because this attitude is so prevalent, people sometimes find it very difficult to understand a person who does things without expecting anything in return. One's likes and dislikes need not constantly dictate one's actions. Dharma and adharma can as well dictate them. Thus, Krishna said to Arjuna, what is to be done, please do. Through karma yoga alone, you can gain the antakarana shuddhi that leads to steadfastness in the knowledge. Only then can you revel in the Atma. Knowledge itself requires no action. It will take care of itself. This then is what Krishna meant when he said to either pursue knowledge while doing karma or take to the life of sannyasa. That this choice is there is without question, but the end is the same for both. Which one is more appropriate for you is all that matters. If you choose the one that is more appropriate for you, you will be the gainer. But if you choose sannyasa and it is not appropriate for you, the life of sannyasi will not bear the fruits that you expect. In Krishna's view, Karma Yoga was exactly what Arjuna was fit for. Thus, he tells him to continue doing Karma Yoga and also to pursue knowledge. Not until all 18 chapters of the Gita had been taught by Krishna did Arjun finally say, I am going to do what is to be done. He then started the fight and finished it. By the time the Pandavas had become victorious, a lot of people had been lost. Arjuna's son Abhimanyu, Draupadi's 5 sons, Bhishma, Drona, Duryodhana, and all his brothers, Karna, and so many others. Thus, a lot of destruction had been done, and Arjuna was very sad. He then asked Krishna to teach him again. Arjuna might have said something like, before the war began long ago, before all the fireworks, we had a dialogue. It was wonderful. Please teach me again because I have forgotten the words. Perhaps the message is with me still, but the words are gone. Krishna replied that although he could not repeat the teaching verbatim, he could go over what he had taught him previously. Thus, there is one more Gita called Uttar Gita, meaning a subsequent Gita. So, Bhagwan had told Arjuna to do karma because his ground was not prepared, his mind was not prepared for the sannyasa. So, it will not help him. So, he told him to do the karma yoga. And like all of us, after the fight when his son and everybody, his brothers, cousins, his teachers, his pitamaha, everybody, when they all were lost, again his mind was heavy. So he told Lord Krishna that you please, I have forgotten the words which were taught before. So please let me know. So it is called Uttara Gita. So Bhagavan is so compassionate. Arjuna knew that he had to gain this knowledge in his present circumstances. In the middle of the battlefield, he could only listen. There was no time for him to do a thorough analysis and reflect on everything Krishna was telling him. Therefore, it was something he had to work out. This was why Krishna told him that he should continue to do karma and gain knowledge in the process. The Shastra says that one should do what has to be done with a mind free from the hold of likes and dislikes with reference to the results of one's actions. When one performs action in this way, the mind becomes purified. Only when the mind is prepared can knowledge take place. And through the knowledge, one gains moksha. You will find this point consistently reiterated by Shankara in this Bhashya. So, Antakarana Shuddhi by removing all Raga Dvesha. That is again and again being repeated here. That only can bring the real jnana which can take us to moksha, which we already are. Karma yoga or any other yoga does not directly produce moksha as we have seen. To think otherwise is not to understand. First, the mind is to be prepared through karma yoga and then the knowledge can take place. There is an order here, and it is this order that Krishna was describing in this verse. Then he continued. So, in the 19th shloka, Bhagavan was telling Arjuna to do karma but without attachment. When you do not have the raga, dvesha, likes and dislikes, then you attain that jnana. You have that knowledge. For that kartrutva, bhoktrutva, you are free. When you do not have the raga, dvesha. Anything to be repeated, please let me know. So his mind is to be prepared. That's what Bhagavan is saying. To do the karma and through that, without attachment, without any bondage. So I move forward to the verse 20th. कर्मणैव हि संसिद्धिं आस्थिता जनकादयः लोकसङ्ग्रहमेवपि सम्पश्यन् कर्तुमर्हसि. He indeed Janakadayah, Janaka and others. Karmana eva, by action alone. Samsiddhim, liberation. Asthitaha, gained. Api, also. Lokasangraham, of protecting the people from falling into unbecoming ways. Eva, merely. Sampashyan, seeing the desirability. Kartum, to perform action. Arhasi, ought to. He Janakadayah karmana eva samsiddhim asthitaah api lokasangraham eva sampashyan kartum arhasi. Indeed, by action alone, Janaka and others gained liberation. Also, by merely seeing the desirability of protecting the people from falling into unbecoming ways, you ought to perform action. I repeat, indeed, by action alone, Janaka and others gained liberation. Also, by merely seeing the desirability of protecting the people from falling into unbecoming ways, you ought to perform action. Krishna did not say that karma is to be done by everyone. Karma yoga is meant for a person who is a mumukshu, who is desirous of the knowledge that is liberation. For a jnani, one who already has the knowledge, there is no karma to be done. Kartavyam nasti, because there is no doer. The absence of doership is purely in terms of knowledge. The jnani knows that he or she is not the doer or enjoyer of any action. Knowing this, a wise person is not bound by any karma, nor is he or she enjoined to do any karma, even by the Veda. Only a mumukshu has to do karma, as does the aviveki, one who is only interested in fulfilling his or her raga dveshas. So, very clearly, Swamiji has differentiated between the Atma Rama and the Indriya Rama. I repeat once again this beautiful paragraph. Krishna did not say that karma is to be done by everyone. Karma yoga is meant for a person who is a mumukshu, who is desirous of the knowledge that is liberation. For a jnani, one who already has the knowledge, there is no karma to be done, kartavyam nasti, because there is no doer. The absence of doership is purely in terms of knowledge. The jnani knows that he or she is not the doer or enjoyer of any action. Knowing this, a wise person is not bound by any karma, nor is he or she enjoined to do any karma, even by the Veda. Only a mumukshu has to do karma, as does the aviveki, one who is only interested in fulfilling his or her raga dveshas. It goes without saying that an aviveki, a person whose likes and dislikes have to be fulfilled, has no choice. Karma definitely has to be done by such a person. And while performing action, he or she has to follow dharma and adharma, right and wrong. Otherwise, the results of the person's action will be something undesirable, if not immediately, certainly later. A person who has a value for dharma need not be a mumukshu, a viveki, but may legitimately fulfill his or her desires, keeping what is right and wrong in view. So, mumukshu has to do karma without any raga dvesha. And aviveki, because he doesn't have the hold over his raga dvesha, he does the action. Again, there are two types, dharma, dharmic and adharmic. So if he is following adharmic, then sooner or later he will be facing undesirable or completely opposite results of his actions. And the person who is doing the action with dharmic view, then he is a viveki, but not, he need not be a mumukshu. He has a value for dharma. But he again, because he is following his raga dvesha with a viveka, with a dharma. A mumukshu also does karma, but not always to fulfill his or her likes and dislikes. More often than not, such a person does karma simply in order to do what is to be done in a given situation. And if the person does perform action in order to fulfill his or her likes and dislikes, the action is performed and the results of the action, whatever they may be, are taken as prasad, kshamyadam, prasada, gifts from the Lord. Very beautiful. I repeat this line. A mumukshu also does karma, but not always to fulfill his or her likes and dislikes. More often than not, such a person does karma simply in order to do what is to be done in a given situation. And if the person does perform action in order to fulfill his or her likes and dislikes, the action is performed and the results of the action, whatever they may be, are taken as prasad, gifts from the Lord. So, even if the mumukshu has done sometimes the action based on his likes and dislikes, but he does what is to be done in a given situation. But whatever result he gets out of his action, he accepts it as prasad, which is gift from the Lord. If you want me to repeat anything or do manana, please let me know. Here in this verse, Krishna provided further arguments for the performance of karma. People who have really given up everything to pursue this knowledge enjoy a certain disposition that, according to the Shastra, is not gained accidentally. They have earned it by performing karma with the proper attitude. Thus, Karma Yoga precedes Antahkarana Shuddhi, purification of the mind, which in turn precedes Jnana, knowledge. This order is the context for the present verse. I repeat this as it is the gist of the whole shloka. Here in this verse, Krishna provided further arguments for the performance of karma. People who have really given up everything to pursue this knowledge enjoy a certain disposition that, according to the Shastra, is not gained accidentally. They have earned it by performing karma with the proper attitude. Thus, Karma Yoga precedes Antakarana Shuddhi, purification of the mind, which in turn precedes Jnana, knowledge. This order is the context for the present verse. This again will be repeated, I think, in the 18th chapter. That by offering the results to me, they become successful. So it is not an accidental thing that the person has gained that attitude that whatever he does, whatever results he gets, he takes it as prasada. It's only when your antakarana is pure that jnana happens.
Can you repeat this last para one more time, Bella?
Yeah. Here in this verse, Krishna provided further arguments for the performance of karma. People who have really given up everything to pursue this knowledge enjoy a certain disposition that, according to the Shastra, is not gained accidentally. They have earned it by performing karma with the proper attitude. Thus, Karma Yoga precedes Antakarana Shuddhi, purification of the mind, which in turn precedes Jnana, knowledge. This order is the context for the present verse. I will just take this one more paragraph and then we can have some manana. Janaka and others like him, Ashwapati, for instance, are mentioned in the Shruti. They were all kings and householders. They had offices to keep and were very busy with a variety of activities which were kartavyam karma, to be done karmas. They were also considered to be wise men who had gained samsiddhi, another word for moksha, liberation. They had discovered freedom by living a life of karma, a life of activity. So, King Janaka was handling the whole kingdom but without being attached. And that is why he was the most favorite student of sage Ashtavakra. We all remembered that example, right? When there was a fire, when they were having the knowledge session. All the other disciples had started looking for their things which were there in the huts. And unlike them, King Janaka was steadfast. He was sitting peacefully in front of the sage. Yeah, we can have the manana. If you want me to repeat any paragraph, please let me know. So, what is to be done is done by the mumukshu, but again, without being attached to its results, whatever result one gets, what as per, like there will be three types of results as per your expectation, not as per your expectation, or completely opposite. But he takes it as prasada, that prasada buddhi that brings him the success and that brings the jnana. And that happens only when your antakarana is pure. When that happens, it means you have purified the antakarana, which is free from the raga dvesha.
So when a person lives a life of a karma yogi, he his mental attitude changes to such an extent that it prepares the ground for knowledge. It doesn't happen accidentally. That is what is mentioned here.
Mhm.
So they
Very
have
true.
earned it by performing karma with a proper attitude. Thus, karma yoga precedes antakarana shuddhi. See, first of all, we cannot not do karma. We cannot just be inactive. We cannot be attached to inaction. But with what attitude do you do karma? Do you do karma based on your likes, dislikes, dharma, dharma? You do karma according to dharma. And even if you've done it according to your likes and dislikes, with the karma yoga attitude, you take the outcome as prasada. This creates that equanimity in the mind. The mind doesn't become a yo-yo. One moment happy, the other moment sad. So a karma yogi is one who actually manipulates his mind. He takes it with that samatva bhavana.
Yeah, very beautiful. That it is
And
not gained accidentally. Yeah.
yeah, and Janaka and all of them, they were also enlightened, but they continued to do karma. Loka sangrahamevapi sampasyan kat. Is that what the verse says? So although there is nothing to be done, you continue to do in order to protect. That's what even Krishna says. He says, I don't have to do anything, but I continue to do in order um, to guide or protect people. Can you just read the verse one more time,
Yeah,
Leela?
yeah, yeah. कर्मणैव हि संसिद्धिम् आस्थिता जनकादयः लोकसङ्ग्रहमेवापि सम्पश्यन् कर्तुमर्हसि.
And if you can just repeat the meaning of the verse one more time.
Yeah, here is the verse. I will repeat once again. कर्मणैव हि संसिद्धिम् आस्थिता जनकादयः लोकसङ्ग्रहमेवापि सम्पश्यन् कर्तुमर्हसि. Indeed, by action alone, Janaka and others gained liberation. Also, by merely seeing the desirability of protecting the people from falling into unbecoming ways, you ought to perform action.
Yeah, in order to be a role model, in order for people to follow, you have to continue to act. And that's what Krishna also says in some other shloka.
And that vulture attitude also is not good. That
Mm,
however high you fly,
mm.
your vision should be upward, not the downward on the dead objects. Brahmaraji, could you please hear like this word protecting the people? How do we, uh, is it that because Arjuna was not ready to fight, this is at it?
Um, Probably to tell him that, see, listen, even though there are enlightened people, they continue to do what they have to do.
So your dharma is
That's
right now to protect. Yeah.
protect.
Hmm.
The reason why protecting is a Kshatriya dharma, no doubt. But even if he was not a Kshatriya and Krishna was giving him this knowledge, he would have asked him to do his dharma. But honestly, Krishna did not have anything to do, but he continued to do throughout his life.
Hmm.
That's why he says, um, in order to protect dharma, the avatars keep coming into being in order to protect dharma,
Hmm. Yada
which is
yada hi
that yada
dharmasya
yada hi dharmasya glanir bharata
abhyuttharam
thanama dharmasya tadatmanam
tadatmanam
srijamyaham.
srujamyaham paritranaya sadhunam
Mm.
vinashaya च दुष्कृताम् धर्म संस्थापनार्थाय संभवामि
Sambhavami
युगे
yuge
युगे.
yuge. So they don't need to come, but they come. They take the avatar. Like for instance, Gurudev, all the enlightened masters. They don't need to come for their. Um, they are not in the samsaric cycle. They come only, like Nana said, a collective prayer of all the devotees manifests an avatar.
Hmm.
And then they are here to lead and guide and protect dharma and guide people.
Very beautiful. The wise need not give up activity, even though considered by the Shruti to be wise man. Sorry, just a minute. Even though considered by the Shruti to be wise men and scholars also, Janaka and the others were not renunciates. They were householders. They acquired wisdom without giving up karma. Thus, it is very clear that performing karma is not against moksha, even though it cannot produce moksha. Only knowledge can be said to produce moksha, moksha being an already accomplished fact. In other words, Atma, oneself, is already liberated, mukta, and knowledge alone makes us recognize this fact. And to prepare the mind for this recognition, there are a lot of means that one can use. This then is the reason for saying that there is nothing equal to knowledge for gaining liberation. I repeat once again, the wise need not give up activity, even though considered by the Shruti to be wise men and scholars also, Janaka and the others were not renunciates. They were householders. They acquired wisdom without giving up karma. Thus, it is very clear that performing karma is not against moksha, even though it cannot produce moksha. Only knowledge can be said to produce moksha, moksha being an already accomplished fact. In other words, Atma, oneself, is already liberated, mukta, and knowledge alone makes us recognize this fact. And to prepare the mind for this recognition, there are a lot of means that one can use. This, then, is the reason for saying that there is nothing equal to knowledge for gaining liberation. The use of the words produce and make here must be properly understood because knowledge is always true to a fact. It cannot make or produce anything unless there is a fact. Knowledge of the object pot will only be equal to what is there, a pot. If the pot is a clay pot, it is a clay pot, not a brass pot. By knowledge, you cannot change the nature of the pot. You can only understand its nature. This is the very meaning of knowledge. I repeat, to understand the difference between produce and make. Yeah. The use of the words produce and make here must be properly understood because knowledge is always true to a fact. It cannot make or produce anything unless there is a fact. Knowledge of the object pot will only be equal to what is there, a pot. If the pot is a clay pot, it is a clay pot, not a brass pot. By knowledge, you cannot change the nature of the pot. You can only understand its nature. This is the very meaning of knowledge. Moksha is always for oneself. It is not for anyone else. And because the self is already mukta, moksha is always for oneself, it is not for anyone else. And because the self is already mukta, moksha can only be gained by knowledge of the fact that the self is liberated. Moksha is already accomplished in the self, and one can gain this knowledge without giving up karma as Janaka and others like him did. So, I repeat once again, moksha is always for oneself, it is not for anyone else. And because the self is already mukta, moksha is always for oneself, it is not for anyone else. And because the self is already mukta, moksha can only be gained by knowledge of the fact that the self is liberated. Moksha is already accomplished in the self, and one can gain this knowledge without giving up karma, as Janaka and others like him did.
Villa, can you read from the beginning of this verse?
Yeah. You mean the wise need not give up, or from the beginning of the verse when I
Yeah, the
started?
wise need not, not the beginning of this verse, the beginning of this
Yeah,
paragraph. The wise need
yeah,
not give up activity.
yeah. The wise need not give up activity, even though considered by the Shruti to be wise men and scholars also. Janaka and the others were not renunciates, they were householders. They acquired wisdom without giving up karma. Thus, it is very clear that performing karma is not against moksha, even though it cannot produce moksha. Only knowledge can be said to produce moksha, moksha being an already accomplished fact. In other words, Atma, oneself, is already liberated, mukta, and knowledge alone makes us recognize this fact. And to prepare the mind for this recognition, there are a lot of means that one can use. This then is the reason for saying that there is nothing equal to knowledge for gaining liberation. The use of the words produce and make here must be properly understood because knowledge is already Kshamyatam, because knowledge is always true to a fact. It cannot make or produce anything unless there is a fact. Knowledge of the object, pot, will only be equal to what is there, a pot. If the pot is a clay pot, it is a clay pot, not a brass pot. By knowledge, you cannot change the nature of the pot. You can only understand its nature. This is the very meaning of knowledge. Moksha is always for oneself, it is not for anyone else. And because the self is already mukta, moksha is always for oneself, it is not for anyone else. And because the self is already mukta, moksha can only be gained by knowledge of the fact that the self is liberated. Moksha is already accomplished in the self, and one can gain this knowledge without giving up karma, as Janaka and others like him did. Karma, I will just finish this paragraph and then we can have Manana. Karma is only opposed to knowledge when performed purely for fulfilling one's raga dvesha and not for neutralizing them. Such karma is without any doubt binding in nature. This, however, is not the karma that Krishna was referring to here. He was talking about karma that is to be undertaken by oneself with an attitude of karma yoga. This karma is a yoga whereby you gain the kind of mind necessary for the knowledge to take place. So beautiful. So the fact is, we are already mukta. It is not produced or made, but that recognition of that pure self comes only by doing karma with prasada buddhi, not by following your raga dvesha with attachment to the results. Yeah, we can have the manana. Shall I read ahead? I hope everybody is clear about the difference between the words produce and make. So no action can, like, it is already, you are already liberated. The fact is that And that is recognized only when you have continued doing the karma without following your raga dvesha and with the acceptance of the results as prasada. So, knowledge alone makes us recognize this fact. We can have different means for this recognition.
And how, what definition of knowledge? We keep talking of knowledge, knowledge, but knowledge is true to the object. It will not change anything.
Hmm.
If you're talking of an apple, the knowledge of the apple will not change. It is only a matter to understand, to recognize. The apple is not banana, and so that does not require you um, to change anything. It is only to recognize, and that is why moksha is what it is about, recognizing an already established fact, the truth. That is why it is said, even though they are enlightened, that does not interfere with them doing their actions. It is not contradictory. It does not mean once an enlightened person, once a person realizes himself and is enlightened, he need not have to do any action. That is there. There is no action required of him to do, but he can continue to do action. And he will because of this reason, in order to be a guiding light.
Hmm. Protecting the welfare of the people.
Yeah.
Uh, this is not in the it is not a part of our discussion today, but I just have one. Um, I don't know. Whenever we continue doing our actions without any um, selfish attachment, maybe like I have learned Padma Sadhana, and I keep on encouraging people to do that, or maybe learning Sanskrit. But people do not have the readiness, or they are not, I mean, they do not have that acceptance. So sometimes it comes like there is a doubt. Now is it normal? I don't know, because I want to spread this knowledge, whether about the Sanskrit or maybe the Padma Sadhana. It's such a beautiful technique. I want to reach out to everyone around me in the best possible way. But then, as here it is mentioned in the previous, that people, I mean, when they take the things, is it because it is offered free? They have no value.
That way, look at Gurudev. He is so many people have learned yoga, sudarshan kriya, meditation, but not everybody is following it the way it has to be followed, right? It, it, it does not reduce his enthusiasm to continue to do what he's doing. So there will be all kinds of people. They come with their all kinds of their the combination of sattva, rajas, tamo gunas. So ours is only to continue to do. Again, when we do, it is giving us with an attitude of karma yoga. When we do, we are not really disturbed by the outcome, whether people are taking it the way we want them to take it or not. So we just educate and continue to educate and ignore. Planting seeds. Some seeds will sprout immediately, some seeds will take a longer time to sprout. But we continue to do that. It is giving us an opportunity to live life as a karma yoga,
Hmm. But when
isn't it?
this sadness comes, it means there is still some raga dvesha, right? It means
Yeah,
in this
when
sadness.
if it is getting you off the center, getting us off the center because, oh, I'm trying to do something good for people, but they're not taking it,
Hmm.
then that despair comes. It is like you are
Hmm.
affected by that. You are not an art. You're not our mental peace and happiness is directed by the object situation outside, by people outside. Remember that beautiful definition of rogi, bhogi, and yogi. So, if we are
Hmm.
continuing to manipulate the outside in order to gain that peace of mind or happiness, then we are bhogis. Whereas
Hmm.
when we turn our attitude, the manipulation into inwards to the mind, then we are more and more yogis.
Hmm.
That's why Gurudev says, he says, I don't need any of you. I don't need any of this. I can actually do all this by myself. The reason why he's giving us an opportunity is for our own growth.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah,
Seva is
that
for
is
our
very
own growth.
clear. It is
Hmm.
for us only, not for anybody else. Whatever we are doing, it is for our growth only. Mhm. Yeah, very beautiful. So, still more to be done, work in progress to come out of this despair. I'll just repeat the shloka one more time. कर्मणैव हि संसिद्धिम् आस्थिता जनकादयः लोकसङ्ग्रहमेवापि सम्पश्यन् कर्तुमर्हसि. Indeed, by action alone, Janaka and others gained liberation. Also, by merely seeing the desirability of protecting the people from falling into unbecoming ways, you ought to perform action. Can everybody share one takeaway points, please, from today's this shloka? We can stop here otherwise. सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ तत्सत् सर्वं श्रीकृष्णार्पणमस्तु
is a meditation.
Are you able to hear Gurudev's voice?
Yes.
Is accepting this moment, living every moment totally with depth. Let us keep our spine erect and body relaxed and eyes closed. Relax your shoulders. Keep a big smile on your face. You're sitting like the statue of Buddha, very serene and with a serene smile on your face. Relax your body. Let's take a deep breath in and breathe out. Become aware of your chest region, throat and chest region. If you notice some tension in the body, just let it be. Except those parts of the body where you feel a tension, the other parts are in comfort. Other parts are at peace. Become aware of that also. There are many good things about you and inside of you. Acknowledge them. They will never leave you. And the negative aspect you may see in you is never going to stay with you forever. They are all guests for some time. Let them be. Sit with the total acceptance of yourself the way you are at this very moment. Total acceptance of what is now here will lead us to deeper meditation. Let go of all the effort. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let go of all your effort and be in this emptiness. And slowly and gradually become aware of body and surroundings. And you may gently open your